Good, happy Sunday morning. I'm Riley King, and welcome to Politics with Riley King. Let's begin. First up, close up WMUR. Edwards claims Pappas has thirst for power. Let's watch some of the video from WMUR News 9 Close Up.
Hit a home run this postseason with AutoFair Honda, Ford, Hyundai, Nissan, and VW. Get off the bench, get in the game, and get AutoFair's famously low prices on every new and pre-owned vehicle.
Thank you for joining us for Close Up. 2 weeks and 2 days until Election Day, and it's crunch time for the candidates, certainly in the 1st Congressional District, which is about as evenly divided and swingy a district as you can get these days. Republican candidate Eddie Edwards is our first guest this morning. Eddie, thanks for being here.
Morning. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Appreciate it. So how do you win over those all-important undeclared voters who don't have a party and really don't like those politicians who just toe the party line?
I think you do what we've been doing the entire time. You talk about honesty, you talk about integrity, you talk about character, you talk about the beauty and grace of our nation, and particularly our state. And I think they want a candidate they can be proud of, someone that they know will go down to Washington and fight, stand up for what is right, but will not be an antagonistic type of figure that would not be there just to resist without working across party lines and getting things done on behalf of the Granite Staters in CD1.
So we...
Okay, and there you go on part of that video. If you want to watch that whole video, we will share a link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. Pappas says he left fundraiser before Baldwin speech. Let's take a listen to some of the video from WMUR News 9 Close Up.
Pushed out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
Welcome back to Close Up. For the first time in more than a decade, the Democrat on the ballot in the 1st Congressional District will not be named Carol Shea Porter. The new nominee is Chris Pappas, and he's our guest this morning. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
So Democrats really trying to claim the high ground these days in terms of the Me Too movement, what's going on in Washington. Of course, recently, Democrats here, one of the biggest fundraisers, you guys had Alec Baldwin as a featured speaker. He notoriously lost a show on MSNBC over some very pointed homophobic comments. Was it your opinion that it was a mistake, perhaps, to bring him here as a featured speaker for a big fundraiser?
Well, I didn't stay for his remarks. I greeted supporters and people that are working hard on this election because there's so much at stake. And I did say in my remarks that deeds and words matter, and that there's no place in the public square for someone to be expressing homophobic, racist, misogynistic views. That goes for people in Hollywood. It goes for the President of the United States. And I think we've got to make sure that we continue to draw lines about what is acceptable behavior. That's partly why I'm running for Congress, to ensure that we can show that we're better than the culture in our country right now. The zero-sum game that exists in Washington, where we need checks and balances. And I'm the only candidate in this race that's going to hold this president to account.
Do you have a...
Okay, and there you go on part of that video. If you want to watch the whole video, we will have a link for you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. CD1 Libertarian candidate Dan makes his case. Let's take a listen to some of the video from WMUR News 9 Close Up.
season with AutoFair Honda, Ford, Hyundai, Nissan, and VW. Get off the bench, get in the game, and get AutoFair's famously low prices on every new and pre-owned vehicle.
Welcome back to Close Up. Libertarians are on the ballot this year, and the CD1 candidate is Dan Belforti. Dan, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam.
So libertarians generally believe, of course, that government should do less. But one area where it seems like a lot of people want to see more or at least better action is on veterans. What's the libertarian approach to reforming the VA and helping our veterans?
Well, I think we should reforming all of healthcare through empowering the individual to make his own choices with the advice of his doctor and family. And I would empower them with vouchers to replace the current system we have with VA. So essentially you can buy either the services you want directly from the healthcare providers that you choose, or if you wanted to choose an insurance policy or insurance company that you want to work with, that would be up to the individual, and they would be empowered with a voucher funded at the federal level, similar to what we have now, or better yet, even block granted to the states, and they would give the voucher. And we would be able to save possibly as much as 50% over what we're paying now, and the quality would be better. And it would be much better for the individual because they get to choose.
What would happen if you didn't have enough vouchers to cover the cost of your...
Okay, and there you go on some of that video and that report. New Hampshire Supreme Court restores registration forms process of 2017 proof of domicile law, SB 3. Let's take a listen to the video from WMER News 9.
The root of controversy and quarrel between Democrats and Republicans across the state, Senate Bill 3 requires those who register to vote within 30 days of an election to provide proof of where they live or promise to provide that documentation later. Mixed reaction Friday night from both sides.
We now know that when we go to cast our vote, that we're casting our vote with our neighbors and our friends, and not from people who just showed up in the state to change the outcome of our elections.
The New Hampshire Young Republicans praising the unanimous decision Friday, along with Governor Sununu, who called the Supreme Court ruling, quote, a major victory for election integrity in New Hampshire, after a Superior Court judge earlier this week said the law was too confusing and burdensome on voters.
New Hampshire's already voted twice underneath these rules. So we had the municipal elections back in March and the primary elections here in September. So this last-minute change amounts to judicial activism, and I'm glad the Supreme Court unanimously struck it down today.
But the state's Young Democrats disagree.
When I testified in court against SB 3, I said this bill would negatively impact student voters. It would create longer lines. It would create confusion. And therefore disenfranchise voters.
Democrats say they have been informing young voters on college campuses of the appropriate procedures on Election Day.
We're trying to attract and retain young people. We should be looking to our college students to say, hey, you're part of our community, we value your voice, and you should take part in our democratic process.
Now, the Supreme Court justices also said in their ruling that this decision was based on the timing before the election, saying it's simply too close to voting day to change the forms rather than the merits of the law. A trial on the issue is expected to take place next year. Live in the studio, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And we want all of you to weigh in. What do you think of this? Comment below under this video and let us know. And big week in New Hampshire this coming week. The debates this week on WMUR TV each night at 7 p.m. Let's take a listen to the video of the commercial.
The election, and WMUR brings you 3 debates in the biggest races. It's your chance to see the candidates take on the issues and each other. It starts with the 1st Congressional District. Commitment 2018 coverage. Granite State Debates. Monday at 7.
There you go on that commercial. So again, 1st Congressional District debate is this coming Monday, followed by the 2nd Congressional debate on Tuesday, and then the governor's debate on Thursday. We will have full coverage of the debate. We will share links with you of the debate broadcast on the Riley King Network Facebook page each night at 7 p.m. And election day is Tuesday, November 6th. So go out and vote on election day, Tuesday, November 6th. It is very important to vote, everyone. Senator Warren and GOP challenger DeHill to meet for final debate on News Center 5. Democratic U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren and her Republican challenger, State Rep. Jeffrey Dale, are preparing to go ahead to head in their final debate for the campaign. The 1-hour debate is scheduled for Tuesday and will be broadcast live on WCVB at 7 p.m. Warren, often mentioned as a possible 2020 presidential contender, is running for her second 6-year term in office. DeHill co-chaired President Donald Trump's 2016 Massachusetts presidential campaign. Warren has been a frequent critic of Trump. Trump has also repeatedly criticized the Massachusetts Democrat in tweets and speeches. The independent candidate, Shava Arvera, is also on the ballot. Election day is November 6th, and early voting has begun in locations across the state. WGGB-TV and WSHM-TV in Springfield will simulcast the debate and will be streamed live on WCVB.com, thebostonglobe.com, and boston.com. Maine Democrats hold absentee ballot advantage as election nears. Let's take a listen to this video from WMTW News 8 Tyler Cataract.
They're both in remission, have the same pre-existing condition. But if Sean Moody becomes governor...
Town officials say that people not affiliated with the town were going door to door in neighborhoods like this with paperwork to fill out for folks to get absentee ballots, but there was confusion afterward when some of those ballots weren't received.
We're not concerned necessarily that it is a scam at this point. We were putting it out there to people saying that be careful what you're giving out.
Yarmouth police want people to be aware of the potential for errors if they don't get absentee ballots directly from the town.
The town was concerned that these people are not going to be able to vote if those ballots are not received.
They say the door-to-door campaign isn't illegal, but with absentee voting becoming more common, it's important to know there are risks involved if the info isn't relayed properly.
We've definitely seen an increase in the way that absentee ballots are requested through electronic means.
South Portland City Clerk Emily Scully has noticed more of a push for absentee voting now the requests can be made easily online. There's also the flexibility that comes with voting in advance.
A lot of people like to absentee vote, not just because they may not be there on election day, but because they want to take time, enough time to research everything.
This year in Maine, Democrats are requesting absentee ballots at nearly twice the rate of Republican voters. And with Election Day fast approaching, officials say the best way to make sure your ballot gets in on time is to go through the proper channels with the town, either online or by stopping in person. In Yarmouth, Tyler Cataract, WMTW News 8.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. To be a true leader, Trump must change a course and apologize, analysts. Let's take a listen to some of the video from ABC News.
The world, and something has to be done. Something has to be done, but it looks like the results are coming in and they're far more devastating than anybody originally thought in the morning. In the morning they thought that it was a shooter, but they had the shooter or they soon would, but the results are very devastating. You're seeing the numbers come in. So we'll be speaking to you at the conference, the Future Farmers of America conference, and it's just a shame to watch this and to see this. For so many had some kind of this, they should get the death penalty, and they shouldn't have to wait years and years. Now the lawyers will get involved. And now is a possibility. It's a case where, and again, nobody knows exactly what took place yet. It's too soon. The results might have been far better. It is a very, it's a very difficult thing for me to stand as president and to watch.
Okay, there you go on some of that video. All leaders, no matter whether they be CEOs, head of community groups, mayors, governors, or presidents, face unplanned negative moments that dimmed a curtain set of values in order to navigate their way through the trouble. They may have a great detailed strategy and tactics mapped out on a long-term path to where they want to go, but it is the difficult moment that they are most often judged on and will determine their success. And if you want to read more of this and watch the whole video, we will share a link with you on the Riley King Network Facebook page. And that does it for this edition of Politics with Riley King. I hope you all enjoyed this edition of Politics with Riley King. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, everyone. I'll see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics with Riley King. And have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone.